It's an idea whose time has come. A new generation decides as one of the same small planet we are born. It's never been so obvious as before. We breathe the same air, we drink the same water, we walk the same earth, kiss the same sky. We breathe the same air, and I think we ought to get along better, you and I. The future is history, is crystal clear. The borders between us will disappear. Of the same small planet we are born, then there's no foreign country anymore. We breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, and kiss the same sky. We breathe the same air, and I think we ought to get along better, you and I. Some say I'm out of touch with the times, that this world is no place for a vision like mine. Well, still I can see it, and still I believe there's too many lives on the line. There's so many lives on the line. We breathe the same air. Oh, I think we oughta get along better, you and I. We breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky. We breathe the same air, and I think we oughta get along better, you and I. Join me. We breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same and walk the same earth, and kiss the same sky. We breathe the same air. I think we oughta get along better, you and I. Yeah, thank you, Fuji. Thank you. That's the music of Daniel Nahmod, and he wrote this too. Yeah, I didn't steal that, did I? There's a lot of music up here. There's more than enough in a universe that you created. There is more than enough on a planet of sacred design. There is more than enough for humanity made in your image. Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I'd go without? Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I'd go without? Your infinite love made me, made everything I see, and all that will ever be is your infinite love. Let my soul know the truth, whatever I choose to do, your infinite love will prove more than enough. There is more than enough in a universe that you created. There is more than enough on a planet of sacred design. There is more than enough for humanity made in your image. Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I'd go without? Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I'd go without? Your infinite love made me, made everything I see, and all that will ever be is your infinite love. Let the world know the truth, whatever we choose to do. Your infinite love will prove more than enough, more than enough, more than enough. Yeah, Fuge. It's just like a lullaby, isn't it? Ah, thank you. So I'm playing my favorite songs for you this morning. It's great. I love a half-hour segment. It's like I get to play all my favorite hits. All right. There is a power, a presence, one life of all, and no other power can exist outside of the infinite. One love, there can only be God's love. Oh yes, I know that I walk, oh yes, I walk in the love of God. There is a wisdom, a knowing, a loving, and a truth. Whatever you need to know will come in God's way for you. Just say until it shows. I'll pray, I won't move until I walk. Oh, yes, I walk in the love of God. For the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere, it's everywhere, it's everywhere. And I know in my heart, yes, the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere. Can't you feel it? It's everywhere. Can't you see it? It's everywhere. And you know in my heart, oh yes, I walk in the love of God. There's a power, a wisdom, a knowing, and a truth. Whatever you need to know will come in God's way for you. Just say until it shows. I'll pray, I won't move until I walk. Oh yes, I walk in the love of God. For the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere. Can you see it? It's everywhere. Can you feel it? It's everywhere. And I know in my heart, yes, the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere. Don't move everywhere till you see it. It's everywhere. Can you feel it? It's everywhere. And you know when it's hard, and you know it, and know it. Oh, you know it. And you know in your heart, yes, I walk in the love of God. Yeah. There is a power, a presence, one life of all, and no other power can exist outside of the infinite. Right there. One love, there can only be God's love. Oh yes, I know that I walk, oh yes, in the love God. Yes, I walk in the love of God. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Please welcome our practitioner, Yvonne Drummond.
Thank you, Penelope. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? It's so good to see you. This is my first time I got to talk up here. You still look good. But I want to welcome you and thank you for spending your Sunday here with us today. I want to let you know that I am Yvonne Drummond, Reverend Yvonne Drummond, and I proudly serve as the staff minister here at the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. And thank you for spending your Sunday with us today. What I want to let you know is that the theme for the 2018 is living affirmatively. Living affirmatively. As a lot of you know that have been here, we started off the year kicking off our new model. And now we're in this beautiful space. And so let me tell you, we are still in the transformation of this new model. And we are excited as we continue to unveil more and more of these wonderful elements. And so also you will notice that you've been seeing people like me, the practitioners and the practitioner interns that are stepping into more visible roles. Because let me tell you, we are joyfully committed to be able to share in the leadership and in the responsibility of this. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is a thriving community. And speaking of thriving, I want to introduce our executive director, David Aurelio.
Thank you, Yvonne. I am thrilled they're also taking a role because I'm tired. Man. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We are so thrilled, as Yvonne said, that you are here. We are, for those that are new to this community, we are a community that honors everyone no matter where you are in your spiritual path. We're looking for that seeker, that spiritual seeker. And what we know is that we are going to educate and engage that seeker to participate in this ever-evolving world. So we do it in so many different ways, and that's kind of the things I want to talk to you about right now is just a few quick ways that you can get involved and do some stuff to get yourself aware or woke. As I love that, Baji. Woke. All right, so basically the monthly theme, Avon had told you what our yearly theme was, but our monthly theme for this month is called Conjuring Justice. And again, you know, my dad used to say to me when we were kids, is like, your silence is your acceptance. And I'll never forget that because he used to drill that into our heads, and it was like, even if something was happening, not necessarily to you, but to someone else, and you didn't agree with it, it was up to us to take a stand and take a role. And so again, I think this monthly theme of Conjuring Justice is perfect. So the first opportunity for you to get involved that I would love for you all to join me with is this coming Wednesday. It's April 11th. That will be this Wednesday at 7 o'clock. It's a program called Justice with Vision. Essential Steps for a Peaceful Future. And this is no cost. This is no class. You don't need to have a book. We're coming to have a discussion. And it's going to feature our CSL leadership of Reverend Dr. David Alt, and then also Reverend Dr. David Alexander, who's going to be our speaker today. But I don't know if you know that Dr. Alexander is a co-chair of Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, and he also serves as a member of innumerable social and justice action committees in Oregon. So those two gentlemen are heading this up, and we're going to have a discussion with some folks. Let me tell you who's coming. So one of the ladies that's coming, her name is Park Cannon. She's a Georgia State Representative for District 58. She was just recently on CNN, and she described herself as this, and this is not me saying it, she said this about herself: I'm a queer black millennial that plans on shaking up Georgia politics. So she is a force to be reckoned with. She is coming. We also have Munir, I'm going to massacre this name, Munir Majani. He's a local Muslim advocate. He's a business leader that was recently named Georgia's Top 40 Under 40. So that's an exciting one as well. We have Maciel Silva Tadeo. She's an immigration attorney and Dominican Republic native. She's also involved with helping some people who've been detained by ISIS and what needs to be done with some of that. ICE, sorry. So it's like, I went back to do you remember that when you were kids, that cartoon, Oh Mighty ISIS? Maybe I'm too old. So anyways, so we've got these people coming. This is what David Alt wanted me to tell you. This evening will be centered around engaged, positive, social action commentary. And what are our responsibilities before us? The goal of the evening is to talk about the realities of injustice that are prevalent, as well as open up and be available to proactive solutions and engagement for us as lay people. So again, I encourage you to join us for that. That's Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. We've got lots of other stuff coming up with classes. Dr. Will's class had a great turnout this last week. If you still want to join him for that, Ancient Mysteries for Modern Times, you may still join that. You can come into the next class that's coming this coming Thursday. But also coming up on the 11th, of course, this is at night, the one I just told you about. But Dr. David Alt is doing a lunch and learn. And I remember if you were here last week, he talked a little bit about how he's trying to bring in spirituality or work with one of the colleges in regards to bringing in spirituality into the business workplace. So he's trying to kind of formulate a series of talks that could be actually taken into businesses. So one of the ones he's going to try out on us is called this Lunch and Learn. It's like 4 secrets to claiming relevancy as you age. And so, again, 4 secrets to claim relevancy as you age. It starts on the 11th. Now, this is a noontime lunch thing. You bring your lunch, you sit for an hour, you get into a discussion about this. You don't want to miss it. So this is a lunch and learn. Just to remind you, it is not here. It's at City of Light because he wants to be closer to the university. So Mercer. So he wants to be closer to that college. So that's why they're doing it over at City of Light. So if you want to, you can sign up. There are flyers out there on the turnstile, so please make your way to do that. And then we've got another class. He's going to be teaching in May. It's called Meditation is More Than You Think. It's a 4-week class. If you are not someone who likes to meditate or you don't know how, but you've always wanted to know, this would be the class for you. And you can get certification for this if you're on the practitioner path. We'd love to have you join us for that. Again, at the turnstile, you can register as you like. And then also, I wanted to let you know, Reverend Cynthia James has got, for ladies, I know that a lot of you know that she did the women's retreat last fall, and everybody was transformed. Well, a lot of ladies had said, I wish she would do something else. Well, she is doing something else. She's going to do a day-long seminar in May. It's Mother's Day weekend. So this is the perfect gift for mothers or ladies or anyone who wants to be a mother or thinks they're a mother. But anyways, so here it is. It's Sacred Woman, Holy Life. It's a day-long seminar for women, Saturday, May the 12th. And it's going to go all day from 9 to 5. It'll be right here. So again, join us for that. There's information on the website. We haven't made the flyer yet, but definitely check that out because that's a great opportunity. And then of those of you that are wanting a class to learn more about how to become a member of SLCA, you can take that class with me. That's going to be on May the 5th. That's a Saturday from like 10 to 2, and we'll talk about all the steps of membership. So we'd love to have you join us for that. So there's lots of great opportunities. Please join us for one or all of them. We have an opportunity coming up on the 15th of April. It's Creative Visioning for our Creative Arts program. Baji Daniels is going to lead us in that. Penelope and the Creative Arts team. So we've got Nana who will be there, of course, with the dance ministry. Penelope, who heads up not only the Poet Laureate, but also the choir and also the band. Anything that's creative arts, we want to branch out and we want to see what exactly that means, needs to mean for all of us. So again, if you have interest in the arts, please join for that visioning on the 15th. The Shoebox Project, that was something that we talked about last week. Tom Woodward talked about last week. As you know, one of the outreach projects is they're going to collect shoe boxes. They're going to put toiletries and some other items in there, and it's going to be delivered for United Way campaign. I'm going to reference this again. We do not have the space for you to bring your stuff here now. So what we're doing is on the 28th, we're going to ask you to bring, if you're going to collect shoe boxes, bring those with you. Or if you're going to collect the toiletries or any items you want to bring, we bring it all on the 28th. We're all going to meet here. That's also a Saturday of April from 10 to 1, and we're going to assemble all of those boxes, and then we're going to get them ready to go out into the community. So we'd love for you to join us for that, again, for a community outreach project. There is a flyer out there. Please grab one because there are certain items they want and there are certain items they do not want. So we want to make sure that we're being respectful for that as well. So grab one of those, and we'll see you here on the 28th. And then also just another quick reminder, Science of Mind magazines. I know many of you that are pledgers, you get the Science of Mind. It's delivered to you. You used to get it at the bookstore when we had a bookstore. We don't have a bookstore anymore. So now you may get them in our, if you go around the corner there, our copy room. There's a shelf, it just says Science of Mind magazines. They're there, you can go in there. It's on a, I'm gonna trust you all. I don't need to check off a list. I'm gonna assume that if you're going in there to get your magazine, you need to be in there to get your magazine. So go ahead and do that. If you can't find it, find me or Nathan, and we'll direct you to the right location. Okay? Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate it. Have an amazing day and a blessed week.
David. All right. Now we are come to the point where I get the pleasure of leading you into our community affirmation. So what I'd like for you to do is to go ahead and stand. This is going to be a call and response. And so as we do this, I want you to just really take these words and take them from deep inside you and to be open-hearted and willing and teachable. Okay? How I choose to think creates my personal experience. Therefore, I choose to think affirmatively. I choose to speak affirmatively. I choose to live affirmatively. Not only is this my right, it is my responsibility as a conscious being. I allow myself to be guided, used, and available. For the reawakening of everyone's magnificence. The moment is now, and I say yes. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you.
I invite you to sing with us. I am healed. The lyrics are available on that piece of paper right there. Up from my feet, I call the healing power. Up from my feet, I draw it to my heart. It's already here. I only need to claim it. Up from my feet, I know that I am healed. I am healed. In through my hands, in through my hands, I call the healing power. In through my hands, I draw it to my heart. It's already here. I only need to claim it. In through my hands, I know that I am healed. Up from the earth, up from the earth, I call the healing power. Up from the earth, I drop it to my heart. It's already here. I only need to claim it. Up from the earth, I know that I am healed. Back to the earth, back to the earth, I send the healing power. Back to the earth, I send it from my heart. It's already here. I only need to claim it. Back to the earth, I know that I am healed. I am healed. I am healed. Please greet one another with a handshake or a hug, whatever feels good.
Good morning. Thank you. I am Scheherazade Taylor. I am a religious science practitioner, an SLC practitioner, and a healing touch practitioner apprentice. And it's my honor and my privilege to do this treatment with you. And as we begin this treatment, I would like for you to repeat 3 times with me. I am. I am. I am. And as we center, let us each know this for ourselves. When Moses received directions from the divine on Mount Sinai, when he had finished and was sent back to the people, he said, "Who shall I say sent me?" And that divine voice said, yeah. I am what I have been. I am what I am. And I am what I will be. And I can imagine Moses going back to the people and saying, I am sent me. And I can imagine the people saying, yeah, we know who I am. You know, I am sent me. And in a way, I understand why they wandered in the desert for 40 years. I know I have wandered. I know many of us have wandered. So I asked myself, who am I, Scheherazade Reed Taylor? This is what I know. I am one with the one that always has been, always is, and always will be. That one that is everything. I am one with this. And so that means I am stardust. Carl, you were right. I am earth dust. I am everything I can see, hear, smell, and touch. I am one with all that is. And knowing this, I am full of gratitude and humility, because that means when things are rough, I still am, and I am thankful. That means when things are wonderful, I am still thankful because I still am. So what does that mean? How do I actualize that? I am one with the I am. I am an individualization of all that is. And I actualize that by the choices I make. And so these are the choices I make. I am justice. I am beauty. I am clarity. I am a force to be reckoned with. I am gay. I am funny. I am smart. And most of all, I am love. I always have been this. I always will be this. And in this moment, that is who I am. I claim it, I know it, and I manifest it in this moment. Knowing this, I am filled with joy. Knowing this, I release my word within myself, knowing I am. I release my word to the universe, knowing I am. And so joyfully, together, we can say, and so it is.
There is so much love. There is so much love. There is so much grace. There is so much grace. There is so much joy. There is so much joy in this place, in this place. There are open hearts. There are open There's peace on each face. There's peace on each face. Spirit's with us now. It's with us now. In this place, in this place. In this place, in this place.
Good morning. Good morning. I am David Alexander. Not David Alt or David Aurelio, but member of the Spiritual Council here, and grateful to be back. Can you hear me? Is this on?
No, it's not on.
Do I need to turn it on? Turn it on?
There.
Not turned on.
Turn 'em on.
No.
Try it again. Ooh. Hey. All right. All right. Let's try it again. Good morning. All right. I'm David Alexander. I'm Senior Minister of New Thought Center for Spiritual Living in Lake Oswego. That's just outside of Portland, Oregon. We invite you all to come anytime you like. It's if you like today's weather, you'll love Portland. I wore my Easter suit because I thought I'm coming to the South and it's going to be nice and warm, and you all are so good at hospitality. This is like the third time I've come here, and I get off the plane and it's raining. You're so good at hospitality here. It's wonderful. I feel right at home. It's good to be back. I'm a little cold and a little tired, but that's because I have a toddler, a 16-month-old, and a teenager. So pray for me daily. And hopefully when I come back next time, we'll bring the family as well. I want you to know that I start off every message with just presencing who I am, not just a little biography, but in the spiritual sense as well. So as the beautiful meditation indicated, I am David Alexander, and I am here to be a courageous, prophetic, and inclusive voice for God. I'm committed to the radical liberation of humanity through universal spiritual awakening that calls upon our moral imagination and personal development. And that's really what we're going to talk about today in this continuation of conjuring justice, and today being an instrument of justice. What does that mean to be a personal instrument of justice in the world? So we'll look at what do we mean by justice, and what do we mean by being that personal instrument, and how do we awaken, how do we conjure that moral imagination and step into it, not only personally but also collectively. You know that there's a great awakening happening, right? The awakening is, we see it all the time. We see it in the marches and the various things that are happening. But how do we participate in that? So that's what we're going to break down a little bit today. So let's begin with justice. What is justice? Justice is, the definition that I most love is the one by Cornel West, great poet and articulator of consciousness in so many ways, and profound speaker and humanitarian and theologian. Cornel West says, justice is what love looks like in public. What love looks like in public. So the in public part really speaks to, from a metaphysical standpoint, what we're talking about in terms of justice in New Thought. Justice is the demonstration of the principle, right? It's the outpicturing of that principle that we seek to embody inward. So the place where justice plays in our, justice is not a word that you hear. You do all of prac class, foundations, and all the other classes, right? You never really hear the word justice very often, right? But there is another word that you hear all the time. It's called law. The law of mind, and how the law of mind works. And the law is how justice is enacted. So what we know from a metaphysical standpoint is that what is the law? The law of mind is the way the principles work. And the way that they work are based on principle, not on personality, right? So we say they work to all alike. So when things aren't going well in our life, when our demonstration, I like to say demonstration is the only authority. So when our demonstration is less than our ideal, we would, in class and in that dialogue, we would say, it's not personal, it's principle. It's not personal. So the universe isn't against you. It's not picking on you, right? But it's an outpicturing of principle. So let's look at the consciousness, and let's look at the thoughts, and let's look at what the forms are there that are demonstrating in this way, and let's see if we can liberate ourselves through a deeper practice of the principles. And so in that way, New Thought is I've always defined it as a personal liberation theology, right? It's here to liberate us from our fears, doubts, worries, concerns, lack and limitation, all of those things, to liberate us into, as Ernest Holmes would have described it, to be an emancipation from discord of every nature. Yes? There's a lot of you in here, and I'm in the South, so don't leave me hanging up here. I know how church goes in the South. Right? That's right. From the white guy in the front. See? I like it. I've had to train the people at home really hard to talk back to me, so don't leave me hanging. So what we learn is that this liberation theology, this personal application of a universal thing, awakens us to our greater possibility, and the justice is that the principles that you use, the spiritual mind treatment, the affirmative prayer, the meditation, the affirmations, the thought training that you do to dial in an awareness of a greater possibility for your life, that what you're doing when you do that is that you are using a principle that is universal and is available to everyone. Now, the good news and the other news this morning is that the good that you're using and the principle that you're using isn't for you alone. In other words, this very personal focused theology, philosophy, spirituality, religion, whatever you want to call it, this spiritual practice that we have, which is so personal, so personally liberating and freeing and absolutely magnificent. I've been practicing it for 40 years. Yes, that is almost the entirety of my life. Born and raised in it, love it. And it's not for me alone. It's like in terms of theologically, we're like the 12th step in the AA program. Anybody familiar? You don't have to raise your hand. No, don't. Keep it anonymous. But the 12th step is about giving it away. It's about giving it away to others. And so I can't really have my liberation. I can't have my personal freedom. I can't have my power of prosperity, health, wellness, relationship, all the good things in my life that I can affirm and declare and meditate and focus on and cultivate the awareness and the vibration of, and therefore attract them into my life. I can't claim any of that demonstration, which is what law does. Law demonstration is the only authority, so that's how justice shows up, is through the law, the way the law works. I can't claim any of that as mine. All the demonstration that happens in my life is the demonstration of a public principle, a universal principle, something that's available to everyone. And so in the realm of a spiritual democracy, just like a democracy that we live in a governmental democracy, a democracy always has two aspects to it. It has a promise and a responsibility. The promise of a democracy is the path that it provides for liberation, for your ultimate goods. The promise of American democracy is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The promise of a spiritual democracy like New Thought is the same thing: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, your highest good unfolding, right? The capacity to manifest these things in your life. The responsibility of a democracy is to ensure that right is attained by all, is available to everyone. Otherwise, you don't have a democracy. You have a personal thing going on. So we have a responsibility not only in our governmental democracy to make that available to everyone, but also in our spiritual democracy. So how do we go about doing that? Am I making sense so far? So I like to focus on the personal and the collective. The personal aspect of how we do this, and then the collective of how we do it. And so in this we discover, and I have discovered over the years, that being in the New Thought tradition, being spiritually awakened, all of whatever ways you want to describe that, that it's much more than having my own personal altar and doing my little card readings and seeing how the stars are squaring with my moon, right? It's, you know, like, I mean, we all, I'm not making fun of any of that, but I am. But only to mean that, you know, we all have our own way. We all have the ways that we tune in and have our little tools and all that. But it's so much more than that, right? It's about really being spiritually awake. As I've continued to evolve in this teaching, I've learned that being spiritually awake is about bridging the gaps. The tradition of the prophets in the Old Testament, the ones who were prophetic in the Torah, in the ancient Jewish scriptures, prophetic was about standing in the gap between human experience and God's word. If there was ever a gap between what God said, which was to New Thought that language a little bit, is to simply say that there's a covenant between God and humanity, and that covenant is that you're my creation, and you are here to express the fullness of your divinity in your humanity. Yes. Right? We can. That's the New Thought language understanding of everything that covenant and Christian theology would express in that way. We can just break it down and make it real simple. It's about unfolding in our humanity the fullness of our divinity. That's God's covenant with creation. If there's a gap between that covenant idea and human experience, then the prophets were the ones who spoke into that and said, something is amiss here. We're not quite doing it right. And they would speak into that, and that literally is what the prophetic tradition meant, to stand in the gap. So being spiritually awake is about standing in the gap. It's about being a positive force for inspiration. It's about helping heal those who are deeply hurting in the world. It's about igniting higher levels of consciousness for all who live. It's about the intended healing the inherited limitations of social conditioning. It's about being holistic. It's about being integrative. It's about being non-binary, inclusive. It's about downloading and bringing all of these beautiful spiritual ideas. It's what I call the theologically, the radical implication of our principles. What's the radical implication of the idea of oneness? And the radical implication, it's not just, therefore I'm oneness. I'm one with the divine. I'm one with health, wholeness, and prosperity. I'm one with, that's where it starts, because you got to start with your own personal application. But the radical implication of oneness, from the lens of a spiritual democracy, is that oneness belongs to everyone. And the reason that's radical is because we live in an experience where that's not experienced by everyone. So the radical implication becomes nothing less than social reformation. Ooh. Now we're warming up. And so Andrew Harvey, beautiful writer, author, Andrew Harvey says it this way. He says, a spirituality that is devoid of an authentic political and social consciousness does little to halt the suicidal juggernaut of history. On the other hand, an activism that is not purified by profound spiritual and psychological self-awareness, rooted in the divine truth, wisdom, and compassion, will only perpetuate the problem that it is trying to solve, however righteous its intentions. When, however, the deepest and most grounded spiritual vision is married to the practical and pragmatic drive to transform all existing political, economic, and social institutions, a holy force and the power of love and wisdom is born. This force I define as sacred activism. And so being an instrument begins with cultivating the space for that holy force, to see through our own eyes that which we are here. That's why it's so important. That's why I start with who I'm here to be and what I'm committed to, so that I'm activating that holy force within me, that as I continue to do my own work, I continue to do my own development, I am also participating in the liberation of those around me. Through my words, through my actions, through my behaviors, through my shopping, through everything that I do, to the best of my ability, that I'm on a journey of continued conscious awakening that brings others with me. Yes? So we begin with this spark of holy disruption. Holy disruption. And the holy disruption is when we wake up and see all of the paradigms and structures and ways of being that are no longer serving humanity, and then deciding to do something about it. Now, this is the part where most of us see social justice happening. We see the marches, we see the activism, we see the external forces at play, and the people that are waking up and filling into the streets and all of this. But I want us to understand the conscious evolution behind those moments, and then hopefully today take it a little bit deeper so that we get to the points of how do I fine-tune that instrument, as I think that was the assignment given to me in the sermon title. I try to stick to the assignment a little bit. You might notice I tend to veer off, but I'm mostly on my notes this morning. So how do we fine-tune that activity of being that divine instrument? It begins with the holy disruption. It begins with a conscious insight. And we've had some really powerful ancient wisdom renewal or sacred practices that just recently passed, and actually still occurring. Today, for the Orthodox, today is Easter. For the Orthodox Christians, because they say Easter, for the Orthodox, it always happens after Passover, because that's the way the story's told. So how does this thing move around all the time? Which is interesting, because in the Greco-Roman calendar, the fact that it moves around all the time actually lends itself to a more new thought or metaphysical idea that it's just a story. Come on, talk to me, somebody. If it didn't really happen immediately after Passover, then you can move it around and it can bounce around the calendar, right? Because it's just a story. Still powerful, just as powerful, right? Rome doesn't really want to talk about that. They might get more Orthodox if somebody told them that, but that's okay. So we had a lot of fun last week with yesterday. I only live on Sundays. Sunday tunnel vision of medicine. Last week, with it being on April 1st, oh, that was a lot of fun. But today is also Easter for the Orthodox, so I want to talk about that just a little bit in terms of the consciousness behind not only Easter, but what led up to it, Palm Sunday. See, Palm Sunday began as a conscious moment, an insight, a personal insight into the revolution that had to take place. It began with the man, Jesus, the spiritual teacher, the rebel, the rabbi, cultivating his own awareness, continuing to live into his ministry of what he was here for, what he was here to do, what he was committed to in terms of his own personal awakening, and then transferring that through his teaching and his living example and demonstration to those around him. But there came a point where he said, I see the system around me is broken. And no matter how much personal liberation stuff I teach, the system around me is toxic. The system around me is dysfunctional. The system around me is completely broken. And so something else has to happen. A holy disruption. So he goes into the Garden of Gethsemane to pray, to cultivate, to contemplate that. All kinds of manner of things are happening around him, political toxicity and religious toxicity, and the Romans in bed with the hierarchy of the church and all sorts of things. And this is getting to him. And he's saying, something has got to take place. Everybody's gathering for Passover. This would be a good time to make a public statement. And he knows some context. And not only does he know, like Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, and what's in there about those who are looking for the Messiah who's going to come and fix it all, and the way that Messiah would reveal himself on a donkey and all of these things. He knows he can play to the expectations of the people. But he also knows something else about this moment. Once he has the awakening, something needs to happen here. He knows that there's another kind of parade that always takes place during Passover. This doesn't get talked about in the scriptures, but if you know the history, the cultural history of the time, right, he didn't decide to just have a parade, not just because of what he knew from Isaiah in terms of cultural expectations of the Jewish people. He also knew that there was a military parade, that Herod came in on a high horse with all of his military around him, all of his might, and rode right through the middle of the city during Passover every year. And there's only one reason. There's only one reason to have a military parade. I'm talking about Rome now, just so you're aware. I want to get in trouble. And the only reason to have a military parade, to bring out all the guards and hit on this high horse and be surrounded by all of this force, is to say, look how much power I have. And for those of you seeing and watching, don't mess up. Don't step out of line. You can have your cultural tradition, you can have your little party, you can have your little festivity, but don't get out of line, because this presence is here. And it will snap you back into place and make an example out of you just as quick as you can think, right? It's the only reason. We ought to be very mindful and perhaps suspicious of anyone who would want to have a military parade. And Jesus knows this, right? So he says, in the face of the presence of your military parade and your might and your power and your, if I can call it this, because we're talking about the Roman Empire, your form and demonstration of white supremacy, which is what it was. Romans were over many different cultures and different tribes, different nationalities, and they said, you all can coexist peacefully and have your different cultural traditions, but don't just follow our rules and don't get out of line. Pay our taxes, follow our rules, and when we change the rules, jump into them, right? And don't get out of line, right? So there's I could go on that, but you understand. And so in the face of that, Jesus has this insight to march into the city, to cause a holy disruption in the face of the empire. And then all of the everything that unfolds from that moment. And then we have the Easter moment, the Resurrection Sunday, which again, I don't believe actually happened 3 days after a crucifixion, which is why it's still okay that I can talk about it a week later. Because it didn't really happen 3 days. That was a story. Come on, talk to me, somebody. That was Easter and Osiris and Mithras and so on and so forth. If anything, we could say that the early Christian church in the first 100, 200 years was guilty of cultural appropriation of stories of other people. But anyway, I won't go there. But they took the symbols that were available to them to make a point. And so that was a symbol, and that was a repeated theme in other stories. And so they used it strategically because there was a point that they wanted to make. And so the Easter moment too, the Palm Sunday moment is a moment of consciousness of the holy disruption. And then the personal moment of consciousness is the awakening that there's something within us that calls for justice. There's something within us that calls for peace. There's something within us that calls us to return to the covenant that God has with all of humanity. That humanity to be awakened, that we are the place where humanity and divinity meet. And that God's call for us is to waken up into the fullness of that, not only privately but publicly. That be demonstrated in our world. And that moment happened somewhere along the line after Jesus' crucifixion, somewhere along the line, someone or a collective of someone's had this awakening in consciousness, and they thought, that call is not dead yet. That call for love, that call for peace, that call for justice, that call to transform externally that which we know to be true internally has not died, will never die, and can never die, because it is the eternal call of creation to its beloved. It's the eternal call of creation to its beloved. It will always be present until it is made fully manifest. It will rise up again and again and again and again. And the empire can try to destroy it. The empire can try to snuff it out. The empire can make examples of people through public crucifixion. The empire can do whatever it wants, but it's not going to die, this thing. So the Easter moment in consciousness, the story is something later, but in terms of a faith story, and it's a beautiful faith story if you believe in it, and it's a powerful one to believe in. But the moment in consciousness, the Easter moment, is a culminating moment of breakthrough in consciousness that says, while corrupt governments will always find a way to produce corrupt trials and corrupt verdicts that results in the taking of the lives of unarmed and innocent black and brown men. Let's remember, Jesus did not look like Bradley Cooper. Doesn't look like Tom Brady with long hair. Brown-skinned man, right? So while corrupt governments will always find ways to produce corrupt trials and corrupt verdicts that result in the taking the lives of unarmed, innocent black and brown men whose very existence is seen as a threat to the unjust system of white supremacy, there is something within the very fabric of our God-given makeup that says this broken system of thinking, which is all it is, the broken system of thinking cannot destroy us. It cannot destroy this power of love. It cannot destroy this eternal lasting call for justice. It cannot destroy this eternal rising power for God's presence on earth as it already is in humanity. That we are bound by a sacred covenant where humanity and divinity meet, and that we are destined to meet and reconcile these two things in our lived experience. And therefore, through a social justice lens, when we hear the name Jesus exalted as a reminder that this covenant doesn't die, in today's context, I don't know about you, but I can't help, me personally, I can't help but hear the names of Stefan Clark and of Alton Sterling and Eric Gardner and Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown and Tamir Rice or Walter Scott or Freddie Gray or Sandra Bland or Emmett Till and so many more, right? It's the name that says, this name still lives. This is why today's version of that Easter moment of consciousness of resurrection is hashtag say their name, right? Don't forget the call for justice, the call for this humanity, the call for this has not died. So don't forget the name, right? And when I hear the names of all of those lost in violence and in war and conflict, because deep in the ache called remembering is a reminder that death never has the final word. That in every loss of innocent life, there is a call to awaken to that sacred covenant that we belong to each other. And so how do we fine-tune out of that holy disruption moment this call for justice? We begin, number one, I'm going to give you 5 things. Number 1, understand your yes. Understand your yes. When Jesus is seeking to understand his yes when he's in the garden, what is my yes? There's a yes that is rising up in me. Yes, I am surrendered. Yes, I am committed. Yes, I am devoted to this radical awakening within me. Understand what your yes is. We come into New Thought tradition, and our yes is typically about our own individual life. I want to get my stuff together. If you're in that place, God bless you. Please get your stuff together. So look at somebody and say, get your stuff together. Right? Get it together. Take a class. Work with a practitioner. Right? Work that prosperity principle, please. Because we need you to have your stuff together. Because the world has got some stuff going on. And the world needs you to have that stuff together so that you can be of service to it. So don't feel bad if you're like, no, I can't, that's too much for me. All that stuff. That's fine. Stay in your lane. Thank you. Oh, praise Jesus. Now we're talking back and filling in. Hey. I like it. Stay in your lane. Don't get in my lane. It's actually a phrase that my wife and I use a lot. We just stay in your lane. Yes, ma'am. So understand your yes. If your yes is to your personal devotion of your own awakening, stay there until it becomes so activated within you that you understand that your awakening expands to those around you. Then your yes will grow, right? But you grow with it, which is actually the last step. But first, understand your yes. Then understand your why. Why are you doing it? Why are you called to a world that works for everyone? Why are you called to your own personal liberation? Why are you called to this particular movement or that particular movement, this march or that march? There's a lot to choose from. You can't be at every march, right? So understand your why. What is it? Is it because you want to be part of the cool social thing? That's the new thing that's happening? Or is there, it's bringing you back to the yes. Understand your why. For me, the why comes from a deep, abiding understanding that I am not separate from those around me. And out of that deep oneness, I have to be committed to showing up for others. It's just, and so if that means I don't get to do this on Saturday or don't get to do that on whatever, but I understand it's coming authentically from my why. The next two kind of go together, and they're very important in terms of shifting consciousness. Number 3 is stop letting your opinions inform your values. We all have opinions, and we have opinions that are shaped by our upbringing and by our culture and by our surroundings and by our neighborhood and by our class and by our all kinds of things. And it's okay to have opinions, right? As my friend Bishop Flunder says, you don't come to Chitlins late in life. You understand? You don't wake up at 45 and say, I'm going to give that a try. That's just, that's something that's just indoctrinated into you. You're just, either you get it or you don't, right? It's the truth, isn't it? This is a God-honest truth right there. I love me some barbecue, but you can keep the chitlins. Just saying. Don't let your opinions inform your values. Instead, number 4, start having your values inform your opinions. When we start saying, what is it that I value? I value humanity. I value, I value for myself, for my children. I value that my 16-month-old has all of his needs met. I value that my 13-year-old lives in a world where as he continues to grow up, as he continues to grow, he's not quite there yet. I still got him. But he's coming up on me real fast. And so as he exits, the immediate sphere of his family's protection and ventures out as a teenager and starts to drive oh, Lord Jesus, we're not there yet. We've got a few more years. He just turned 13. But you understand what I'm saying. I'm thinking forward, right? And I value his safety as a young black man, right? I value how how he's viewed in his social circles and in the community that's waiting to greet him. Something I'll probably talk about Friday night, or not Friday night. I'm not here on Friday. Wednesday. On Wednesday. We just got a serve on an interfaith commission with the Portland Police Department and working on a number of justice issues. We just received a report, just came out a week and a half ago, a internal audit, or actually external audit on the Gang Enforcement Task Force. African Americans make up 3% of the population in Portland. It's a very white city. It's less than that in the whole state of Oregon. The state of Oregon is probably 3%, but they're all in Portland, right? 3%. The Gang Enforcement Task Force, when they did an audit of their stops, 58% of their stops are African Americans. How do you stop 58% of the people you stop are African American if you only got 3% of the population? Something's not right. So I think about pretty soon my 13-year-old Joshua will go out into that world and get his driver's permit. I value for his safety in the world that we're creating for him. And so when we know our values, equality, love, justice, whatever they are, and we focus on those values and then we say, okay, now, the world that I'm living in, how do my opinions about police brutality or about government policy or about where this food comes from or about any of those things, my opinions begin to be shaped by the guiding light of my values because I want to be a better instrument of manifesting those values in the world, right? And that's very radical and very different than having my opinions and then go finding values that match them so that I can stay comfortable and stay socially correct in my social circles, right? So understand your yes, understand your why. Stop letting your opinions inform your values. 4, start having your values shape your opinions. And 5, be a constant call for growth. Be a constant call for growth, especially as you move more, well, not especially, in both cases, whether you're only doing your internal work or you're moving out into the external work, be a constant call for growth because you don't know everything. I don't know everything, right? Now, I get to serve on certain boards and have certain titles and you know, sometimes get thrust into the public spotlight for this, that, or the other. I don't know everything. So I have to be a constant call for my own growth, for my own awareness, for my own check of privilege, for my own education, for my own insight, and say, I never heard that phrase before. Let me go find out what that's about. Constant place for growth and expansion. And you're off to a good start because you attend here, right? This is a great place to do that work. And finally, and we'll close with this, talking about being a more fine-tuned instrument for peace and justice in the world. It doesn't get any more clarified, any more clear, any more practical than the prayer of St. Francis. And so we'll end with this. I just invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath. Begins with that breath, and it begins with that awareness. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Lord, divine, the infinite, the Alpha and the Omega, the ruler of the universe, the infinite intelligence that is in all things. That's what's meant by Lord. It's beyond patriarchy. It's beyond maleness. It's the infinite intelligence of the universe. Make me an instrument of your peace, which is an invitation of that yes and that why. It's an invitation to say, I've already made in your image and likeness. Now make me an instrument. Make me fulfill the purpose for which I have been already designed. And bringing it down into the places where we can see it practically. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. And where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. That's the law of reciprocity. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. That's the law of practicality. As I demonstrate and model my own spiritual principles, it comes back to me. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. It is in the surrender of our own ego. It is in the surrender of our own desire for it to work out for our own greater good. It is in the surrender of understanding that there is only one power, one presence, one life, one greater good happening, and it's always happening in, through, and as me, that I am born into that eternal presence that says all of your individual needs will be met. You don't need to be selfish and try to go fulfill them. Just surrender to the divine idea that there's only one thing happening here, and that as you make yourself a servant and a vessel and a divine instrument to that, then all things will be added unto you. Take a breath. I'm truly grateful and thankful for the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, for its willingness, for its sacred yes, and its divinely deeply rooted why, to be a place of transformation and inspiration, to be a place that conjures justice and understands what its own role is, inspiring individuals to each reach out into the community in their own unique ways, and for individuals continue to reach deep into their own personal enlightenment, their own personal power, their own personal liberation. And that collectively we truly do make a difference in the world, in this city, in this region, in this time, in this space, in this beloved country, now and forevermore. I release this divine word knowing that it is happening here and now, and it continues to unfold as our experience in profound and magnificent ways, and for that I'm truly grateful and thankful. Ashe. Amen. So it is. Thank you all. Peace and blessings.
Get myself together here. Oh, sorry. Let me get myself together here. Wow. 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 You know, raise your hand if SLCA is a touchstone for your life. Yeah. So we are entering into this time as a request for appreciation. What we want to remember, and I took some good notes, but not all of them, so I have to go back to the tape and take some more. If SLCA is a touchstone for you to grow your own yes, then we need you. The world needs you. Where else can you go week after week after week with all the stuff that is going around in the world and come here to get centered and aligned to the truth about your being? This is our touchstone. And so we're going to start our affirmative prayer. I mean, not our affirmative prayer. We're going to do our grateful giving right now as the ushers come. And I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is.
For years I would talk about how I wanted to change the world. I always left it up for someone else to do. But then I finally realized I needed to take a stand, and that by changing my thinking, I could change my life. That's how I could change the world. So let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. So let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Join me, how? Let there be peace. I am a stand. I am a stand. Let there be love, let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy, joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let's go home. We are making a new world now. We are making a new world now. So it is.
And so it is. Do we have any new visitors here today? I'd like you to stand up, please, so the ushers can see you. And all of us can welcome you here. Your first time, hopefully not your last time here at the Spiritual Living Center. And the ushers are going to provide you with a case, a CD case. It's empty, yes, we know that. But it's empty because we want to give a special gift to you as you go to the welcome table, which is just around the corner there after you leave. And go ahead and get a tape, a CD that is especially made for you. So thank you for coming. Okay. Yep. I'm going to ask now that my fellow practitioners come and join me to the front. And as we begin to sing our final song, let me just give you a few parting instructions. If I know there's going to be a lot of people, what Reverend David Alexander, was he not amazing or what? That has to bring up some questions that are welling up into you, in you. And so I want you to take this time and this opportunity to, after the service, if you're willing to, for a question and answer, we're going to meet over here on this side where the brown chairs are for question and answers, okay? And if what he has sparked in you has disturbed you in some kind of way, and you need some help from a practitioner to do an affirmative prayer for you, to let you know that you are truly one with all that is, then I invite you to take advantage of one of our practitioners. This is the only day that you can actually have a session and a treatment for free. Anybody like free? All right. So we're going to be meeting on this side of the room. So just come, and the practitioners will, just pick one. Lots of choices to pick from, and do that. So we're going to go ahead. Oh, and the rest of you, if you don't want to do that, then we thank you for coming, and you're welcome to leave after our final song. So thank you very much.
Please stand as we sing together. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so